Under the wide, endless sky of the Arizona desert, the sun bled gold across the horizon, painting the sand in hues of fire and sorrow. The wind carried the whisper of old songs, ones that spoke of love, loss, and warriors who once rode proud beneath the same burning sky. Among the scattered mesas and jagged rocks stood a woman, tall and still, her eyes fixed on the distance. Her name was Nayehe. Once, she had laughed like running water. Once, her heart had been open to the world. But that was before the quiet cowboy came into her life, and before she sent him away. He had ridden into her people's camp 5 years earlier, dusty and silent, carrying nothing but a wounded horse and a heart that spoke more through kindness than words. His name was Cole Harding, a rancher's son who had no tribe, no kin, and no peace. He had been searching for something he could not name when he stumbled into the Apache lands, half dead from thirst and the sun's cruelty. Nayehe had found him collapsed beside the canyon stream. She had not meant to save him, yet she did. She had poured water over his cracked lips, cooled his fever, and fed him until strength returned to his limbs. But what she hadn't expected was the way his eyes looked at her, as if she was the first and last thing in the world worth living for. The others distrusted him. The elders warned her, "A man who walks alone walks with ghosts." But something about Cole's silence spoke to her own loneliness. He never tried to impress her with words, nor to steal her heart with promises. He simply worked, mending saddles, tending fires, and listening. Slowly, over moons, the quiet between them turned to something softer, something that lived in glances, in shared silences under starlight. But when he asked her to leave with him, to ride beyond the desert and live in a land of fences and white houses, Nayehe's heart froze. She could not leave her people, her mother, the graves of her ancestors buried beneath the sand. To go with him would mean betraying her blood. And so, though her heart cracked like a dry riverbed, she told him no. Her voice had not trembled, but her soul had. He had nodded once, his jaw tight, and turned away. His horse disappeared beyond the horizon, swallowed by dust, and with him went the only man who had ever seen her as something more than a warrior's daughter. Years passed like slow wind. The world beyond the mesas changed. Railroads cut across the land like iron serpents. The sound of gunfire echoed through valleys where once only drums had spoken. Nayehe grew harder, quieter. Her laughter vanished. Her mother died, and her younger brothers rode off to fight in wars that were not theirs. The tribe grew weary, cornered by settlers, soldiers, and hunger. Each year, the horizon seemed to move farther away, as if even the sky was leaving them behind. But one dawn, as the first light touched the red cliffs, a trembling sound reached the village. It was faint at first, a distant rumble, like thunder behind the hills. The warriors stood ready, hands on rifles and bows. Children clung to their mothers. Nayehe's heart thudded as she stepped forward. She had felt this sound once before, long ago, the rhythm of hooves moving as one. She climbed the rise near the old riverbed and squinted into the glare. From the far horizon came dust, a rising cloud, vast and rolling. Out of it emerged riders. Not 10, not 50, hundreds. 500 men, their banners snapping in the wind, sunlight flashing off steel. The tribe murmured in fear, thinking it an army come to drive them off the land again. But Nayehe's heart whispered something different. A shape rode at the front, familiar and tall, a man dressed in worn leather, his hat low over his brow. And as he drew nearer, she saw him, Cole Harding. He had returned. The years had carved his face into stone, his eyes into fire. Behind him rode men of all colors, ranchers, freedmen, soldiers, and outcasts. They bore no flags of war, only tools, wagons, and supplies. The village erupted in confusion. The chief stepped forward, demanding answers. Cole dismounted, his boots stirring the dust of the land that had almost killed him years before. "I didn't come to take," he said in the language of the settlers, his voice steady. "I came to give back." Through translation and gesture, he told them of his journey. After Nayehe had turned him away, he had ridden east, lost and empty. But he carried her memory, her courage, her loyalty, her strength, like a flame. He worked in the mines, in the fields, on cattle drives, earning trust from men who had none to give. When he heard what was happening in the Apache lands, the drought, the starvation, the broken promises, something in him refused to rest. He gathered men who had been broken by the same world, men who owed him kindness or had once been saved by it. For 5 years, he built a promise, that he would return to the desert, not as a wanderer, but as a brother. The 500 men had brought water barrels, grain, medicine, and tools. They had come to help dig wells, build shelters, and teach the tribe how to protect what was theirs. It was not a mission of conquest, but of redemption. Nayehe stood before him, unable to speak. The wind tugged at her braids, and her eyes filled with tears she had sworn never to shed again. "Why?" she finally whispered. "Why come back when I sent you away?" Cole's gaze softened. "Because I learned something from you. You told me love means standing for your people. I didn't understand then, but now I do. You stayed for yours. I came back for mine, and for you." For the first time in years, Nayehe felt her heart stir. It wasn't the rush of romance that she remembered from youth, but something deeper, the recognition of a soul who had carried her spirit across time and distance. She saw in him not the cowboy she had once rejected, but the man her people could call brother. That summer became legend. The riders stayed, building wells that still run water to this day. They taught the tribe to farm with the seasons, to trade fairly, to repair their rifles and ride in defense, not fear. The desert, once silent and starving, began to breathe again. Songs returned to the nights. Children laughed. And Nayehe, who had once closed her heart to the world, found herself standing beside Cole, teaching him her language, her customs, and the songs of the wind. One evening, as the sun died red behind the cliffs, Cole and Nayehe sat by the river where they had first met. "Do you ever wish things had been different?" he asked quietly. She looked at the glowing horizon. "No," she said. "If I had left then, I would have forgotten who I was. If you had stayed, you would not have become who you are. We both had to break to learn what it means to mend." Her hand brushed his, and for the first time, she did not pull away. The silence between them was no longer a wall but a bridge. Around them, the sound of laughter rose from the campfires, her people and his, together, bound not by blood but by something stronger, shared kindness, shared hope. When the first rains came after years of drought, they fell in torrents, drenching the desert, soaking the hard, cracked ground until it bloomed. The old women said it was the spirits blessing the new bond, washing away sorrow. Nayehe stood in the rain, her face lifted to the sky, and for the first time in 5 years, she smiled, not for what was lost, but for what had been found. In the seasons that followed, the story of the 500 riders spread across the frontier, of a quiet cowboy who rode not for gold or glory, but to heal the land, of a woman who had once saved his life. Some called it legend, others miracle. But for Nayehe and Cole, it was simply life, the proof that love, once true, does not die. It changes form, becomes something larger, something that belongs not just to two hearts but to everyone it touches. Years later, when Cole's hair had turned to silver and Nayehe's hands had grown soft with time, they would sit outside their home by the river, watching children of both bloodlines play together under the same sun. The desert wind would hum through the canyons, carrying the same old songs. And when strangers passed by, they would hear the elders tell it, how an Apache heart, once closed, opened again when 500 riders appeared on the horizon. It was said that even after Cole's death, on quiet evenings when the sun dipped low, a single rider could sometimes be seen in the distance, outlined by the crimson glow, watching, waiting, guarding the land he had come to love. Some said it was his spirit, others said it was the wind taking his shape. But Nayehe always believed it was the desert itself remembering kindness, the kind that outlives even the heart that gave it. In the end, love had not conquered, nor demanded, nor claimed. It had given, and in giving, it had turned strangers into family, wounds into bridges, and a barren desert into a place of life once more. The horizon still burned gold every evening, but now, it no longer looked empty. It looked like hope, because somewhere beyond it, a man had once turned back, not for forgiveness, but for the promise of a heart he had never stopped believing could open again.